To another episode of Adventures in Consciousness. I'm Larry Vingelman and I'll be your host today. In this video, we explore what a direct spiritual experience is, and maybe even more importantly, what it is not. Next, we ask the question, what are we experiencing when we do have a spiritual experience? Kind of interesting. And lastly, a personal account of a spiritual experience called pure consciousness. So, let's get going! Sitting around a campfire one night in the beautiful northern woods of Michigan, I asked if anyone had had a direct spiritual experience. Mia, a somewhat outspoken young lady, cleared her throat and began telling us about her first spiritual experience. She said as a young teenager, she and her mother had gone to a funeral home to say the rosary with 20 or so other women. About halfway through, she said she felt a strong feeling of calm and happiness, a feeling she never had before. She still remembers the moment like it was yesterday. After a while, a few more gained the courage to testify about their experiences. I noted that all used the word feeling to describe what they believe to be a direct spiritual experience. As we will find out, a feeling or thought is not a spiritual experience, at least not in the way we are defining a direct spiritual experience. I think it's because the Bible does not define people as divinely inspired individuals with the ability to experience their inner spirit. Most Christians understand spiritual experience as a feeling derived by the ego, not as an experience of their inner spiritual self, so it's understandable that most mainstream Christians do not identify with the divine spirit within, but with an intellectual idea of God's energy, not the energy itself. For example, Alyssa Childers, a prominent historical Christian thinker, with a book coming out in October titled Another Gospel, a lifelong Christian seeks truth in response to progressive Christianity, says that she had a spiritual experience as a young woman singing in the choir. Let's listen to a clip of her while being interviewed. Of course, the entire video is available on my channel's playlist.
Did you have experiences like that you would say this was a religious experience that sort of grounded your faith in Christianity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my faith, it wasn't a blind faith. It was informed, but it was experientially informed.
Yeah.
So by a couple of things. So I would go to church and I would do the music and worship and I'd feel the goosebumps and, and I associated that with the presence of God. That's what made it real to me.
Not that there's anything wrong with thinking that a feeling is a spiritual experience. If that's your worldview, if that's what you've been taught since childhood, that's what you're going to believe. And again, please note that although Alyssa Childers is a prominent Christian thinker, she believes in her heart of hearts that a direct spiritual experience is a feeling. As she says, I could feel the goosebumps. That's what made the presence of God real to me. And as we have said, thoughts or feelings are ego-driven. They are not an experience of the goodness within, that is to say, our true spiritual self. So, if not a feeling, then what in the world are we talking about? Our definition of direct spiritual experience, and by our I mean as defined by transpersonal psychology, the religion of tomorrow, and possibly progressive Christianity, also the Gnostic Gospels and Vedic literature, in our definition of direct spiritual experience, the person transcends thought and feeling. And here we go. And I think this is where the problem of gaining a full understanding of exactly what a direct spiritual experience starts. What does the word transcend mean exactly? What do we mean when we say transcends all sensory inputs, including thoughts and feelings? It's not as if we are familiar with the word transcends. We just don't hear that word used in mainstream media or our Western churches for that matter. The dictionary says that to transcend means to go beyond our physical energy system, to go beyond our physical universe and experience another energy system in which space and time do not exist. So that begs the question, what do we experience when we transcend? Meaning when we experience another energy system and cease to think, cease to feel, cease to hear or taste. You might imagine that without any sense perceptions generated by our body or our mind, we experience a black void of nothingness. Some might imagine death, but this is absolutely not the case. Without the mind constantly craving, constantly desiring, constantly judging, we experience the glorious and the eternal, the very source of our thoughts. We experience what has come to be called pure consciousness, an experience in which time and space do not exist. Just human awareness, just pure and simple, in all its eternal glory, a far cry from nothingness. And it is this experience of pure consciousness that is the basis, the foundation, the catalyst for all direct spiritual experience. It is what is meant when we say transcends thoughts and feeling. Think of it like this. You're at a movie theater, and just before the movie starts, the bright light of the projector shines through the first few frames of the film. There's nothing on the first few frames of the film as the projectionist uses these blank frames to get the film started. You can see this clearly in this photo. See how the film runs in front of the light source? In this case, the film has no images on it yet. These first few frames are used to get the film started in the projector. So, consequently, when watching a movie that uses a light projector, a very bright light appears on the screen. You are very aware of the bright light and marvel at its richness and its brightness. Then the movie starts. Now the bright light changes into something familiar to one's perceiving mind, into something familiar to the senses. A little bit further into the movie, you may feel startled or become fearful. You may feel love and joy. You may even laugh out loud, uncontrollably. But inevitably, you forget about the bright light that is the underlying foundation of the sights and the sounds you are experiencing. As a matter of fact, the bright light is the movie tuned to our sensory inputs, influencing our thoughts and our feelings. But once the movie starts, no amount of trying will let you view the screen as the original bright light. Pure consciousness is an evolutionary energy, just like the light from the movie projector is light energy. It emanates from our quanta bodies in the same way that light from the projector emanates from the projector's light bulb. Like the light from the projector, pure consciousness is always present, it's always there, albeit invisible to the senses. As the bright light of the projector shines through the film creating the movie, pure consciousness as an evolutionary energy shines through each and every one of us, creating and supporting life and living. Clearly, the bright light of the projector supports the action in the movie as pure consciousness supports our thoughts and our actions. Pure consciousness is life as the bright light of the movie projector is the movie. When our senses are quiet, it is not a black void that we experience. It is not. It is pure consciousness that we experience in all its glory. Because of our senses, we identify the movie action, not the bright light supporting the movie. In the same way in life, we identify with our senses, not pure consciousness, which supports life and living. When we say that pure consciousness is transcendental to our thoughts and our actions, we mean that it is beyond our ability to perceive it through our senses, thoughts, and feelings. But unlike the bright light of the movie theater, we can experience pure consciousness through meditative practices. When we experience pure consciousness using a spiritual technique, it is what we mean by a direct spiritual experience. Imagine the bright light of the projector as having the capacity to manifest a movie as pure consciousness manifests life. As the bright light of the movie projector supports all aspects of the movie, pure consciousness supports all aspects of life and creation. As the bright light is the foundation of the movie, pure consciousness is the foundation of life. Just like the bright light emanating from the projector is an energy, so is pure consciousness an energy, albeit an evolutionary energy. But unlike the light of the projector, pure consciousness is not bound by time. It's not bound by space, meaning it is eternal. We experience a field of energy in which time does not exist. Pure consciousness is pure spirit. When we experience pure consciousness through a spiritual practice like mantra meditation, we experience the very basis of creation. Unlike the bright light of the projector, pure consciousness is influenced by, now get this, listen, human intention and attention. And unlike the light of the movie projector, pure consciousness emanates love and joy. The experience of pure consciousness changes one's life forever. My own experience of pure consciousness was quite remarkable. I was at a long weekend residence course taught by the TM teachers and sponsored by the local Transcendental Meditation Center. At these residence courses, all the participants rounded. One round consisted of 5 minutes of a pranayama, a breathing technique used to oxygenate the body, 15 minutes or more of yoga postures, which help to distribute that oxygen to all the cells in the body, and 20 minutes of meditation using a mantra or seed sound to resonate with the evolutionary energy of pure consciousness. We usually did 2 rounds every day, sometimes more. This type of spiritual practice allows the body to become somewhat unencumbered by physical needs like hunger and breathing. In breathing, we only need to suspend just for a moment. It only takes a moment or two. It allows the heart to slow down and our true self, with the help of the mantra, to resonate with an energy not bound by time or space, thoughts or feelings. The body and the mind sing in harmony with pure consciousness. In my own experience of pure consciousness, it was an experience of simple awareness and nothing more, nothing less. It was an experience without thought, without feelings, just human awareness in all its glory. And again, an experience not bound by time or space. In the energy field in which pure consciousness exists, time does not exist. I could have had this experience for 1/10000000th of a second, or it could have lasted a whole eternity. I had no way to judge without time as a measuring stick. Consequently, in my experience of pure consciousness, I experienced myself as an eternal being without a beginning, always present and never ending, all the while completely absorbed in love and joy. This is why we say that a direct spiritual experience is not a feeling. It is so much more. Knowing, really knowing one is eternal, the fear of death disappears. It changed my life. It will change your life too. And even more remarkable, pure consciousness is the first very small step along a path leading to higher realms of awareness, known as cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, and finally unity consciousness. And it all starts with your first direct spiritual experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us. And consider buying my book, The Ninth City, Preparing for a Technological Solution to World Peace. Watch my video, Is God an Energy, for more information. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay well and be happy.